Welcome back to the Talking Hedge. I'm Josh Kincaid, and this is your Cannabis Business Podcast. Today, we are here live at the World Trade Center for a multi-state operator panel. Today, my guests include Wes Abney, Justin Ruiz, Jerry Derevyanny, and Kacey Morrissey. Wes is the mad genius behind the Northwest Leaf, a cannabis magazine prioritizing the patient's voice. Co-founded in Seattle in 2010, they celebrated their 100th issue last October, and they'll celebrate their 9th anniversary next month in June. Northwest Leaf, Oregon Leaf, and Alaska Leaf are monthly magazines that cover cannabis from every angle. The magazine has been a leader in providing high-quality journalism, photography, and a web hub for both the recreational and medicinal marijuana community. In July of 2014, Wes expanded with the Oregon Leaf, and in 2016 launched Alaska Leaf, then recently expanded to the East Coast with the Maryland Leaf. Wes is also the co-host of the Leaf Life podcast, as well as a cannabis producer-processor in Washington, Alaska, Oregon, and Nevada, with access to over 1,000-store distribution channel, making cannabis-infused edibles called Leafchews and a medical version called Leafchews. Next up is Justin Ruiz, owner of Hypeherbally Cannabis Shop. Justin has been heavily involved in the cannabis space since 1999 when he got involved with HempFest, first as a fellow protester, and then he began supporting the event through vending in 2007. In 2011, Justin established Hypeherbally, a medical marijuana dispensary, recently reopened as a 21 and over licensed cannabis rec shop. Justin is proud to have helped pioneer the Washington cannabis industry as we know it today, and has been busy creating a lifestyle brand around Hypeherbally, named #1 name in Washington State by the Seattle Times. Last year, Justin and Wes launched a shuttle tour service together called Higher Than a Space Shuttle. Justin, thanks for coming on board. From New York commercial litigator to general counsel of the largest recreational company in Washington State, Jerry Derevyanny is the executive vice president of corporate development and director of Cannex Capital Group. Cannex was founded in 2017 and is managed by a team of experienced industry and capital markets experts who are committed to aggressive, cost-effective growth. Cannex facilitates growth through cash flow from operations, strategic acquisitions, partnerships, and by leveraging the expertise of its experienced operational team. Cannex provides a range of comprehensive and flexible growth options for licensed cannabis cultivators, processors, and or rec shops domestically and internationally, including providing turnkey real estate with operational infrastructure as well as long-term advisory and consulting services. Cannex is a publicly traded company listed on the Canadian Securities Exchange under the symbol CNNX. And remotely, today we have Kacey Morrissey with us. She's the Director of Industry Analytics at New Frontier Data. Educated as an engineer with experience in institutional asset management, Morrissey brings a unique blend of technical analytical abilities, intuitive market awareness, and a high-level understanding of institutional risk management to the cannabis industry. Since joining New Frontier Data in 2015, she's developed economic models to produce some of the most accurate and widely quoted industry market projections in the legal cannabis industry, as well as produce the first preliminary analysis of global cannabis demand. Prior to joining New Frontier, Morrissey was a senior investment analyst at the Hershey Trust Company, where she was responsible for public and private equity investment, due diligence, and analysis for the Trust's $12 billion investment portfolio. Today's multi-state operator panel is hosted at the World Trade Center. The World Trade Center in Tacoma grows trade and investment by providing direct access to the largest business network in the world with 300 offices in 99 countries. The World Trade Center in Tacoma is the lone trade service for the Pacific Northwest. The seminars, award ceremonies, and conferences can generate contacts and contracts. Trade research can clarify opportunities, and their matchmaking can turn those opportunities into trade. The e-commerce export store has partnered with Alibaba and is translated into 18 languages with about 40,000 unique visitors every month, giving your product an opportunity to be seen globally. So Kacey, is there an opinion that you used to hold really firmly that you had for a long time that's changed in the last 18 months?
I don't know if I'd say I have an opinion that's changed. I guess I'm just constantly amazed at the evolution of the space and the innovation that exists. Just the new product forms and delivery systems. I mean, it's stuff that I didn't expect to see evolve as quickly as it has. So I'd say that.
A couple of things that you've seen that are new or niche that you feel like sharing?
Well, I mean, one thing that was mentioned before is just sort of like an experience-focused product. So there are a few companies, one that comes to mind is Lucid Moods, where they focus on a very specific outcome and creating consistency in that product. So they have different pens that are, tailored to different moods. And there's like a few different companies that are doing that same sort of thing. And even just the explosion of portable vape pens and just how popular those have become, and the types of consumers that are opting to use those new types of products for discretion. It's just the evolution of the product space, I think, has been the most interesting thing for me.
Mm-hmm. So Wes, there's factors contributing to cannabis's current growth, all of which require capital. They've been technology, product diversity, international expansion, and displacement of the black market. So what's your 10,000-foot view of where we're at now in the context of how you view the cannabis landscape? Or is there a best practice that you've implemented in your business that's been really helpful that you'd like to share?
Well, for us, the best practice is kind of inherent to our business model, which is that we are sitting in a 10,000-foot view as publishers of cannabis publications. And so we get the privilege and the benefit of meeting and talking with so many different cannabis companies, hearing exactly what they're doing, their wins, their losses, their goals, their dreams. And so for us, it's very easy to kind of look at what the industry is doing, report on it, and then create influence, which is in turn what drives our value for advertising. In relation to the larger industry and kind of the global cannabis market, which is where this is happening, we're still just in an experimental land. And so, we've talked about some potentially touchy subjects, companies worth billions disappearing overnight, small companies, fighting to expand, all of these regulatory issues. I like to say my crystal ball broke 10 years ago. And we can try and interpret and predict, but none of us really knows what's going to happen. And for me, that's probably the most exciting part as a journalist, because it's a constantly shifting landscape. There's always stuff to write about. There's stuff happening. There's dramas playing out. There's, incredible boom and bust stories. As a business owner, it's scary. It's scary to go in to new markets, and I watch people who I'm friends with, or I have business relationships with, who I'm watching, kind of bet the farm. And we're still in a gray market in the sense that it's federally illegal. There is no bankruptcy here in the U.S. If your cannabis business fails, you're losing your home, your car, your bank account, everything, because you can't go to bankruptcy court. In terms of the Canadian market and what I view as overinflated evaluations, for many companies, not all, whether it's going to be lawsuits like you mentioned, Josh, or just people losing, which is part of, buying and investing in stock. It's going to be really interesting to see how this all plays out. And so when I sit up, in that metaphorical 10,000-foot view, my thought is kind of twofold. This is still the very beginning of an industry that is going to become global. So this is the ground floor 100%. And at the same time, there are companies that are super well capitalized that are in 10 plus markets. And you ask them and they don't think this is the ground floor. They think they're making moves to be, the Coca-Cola or the one or one of the ones. And I would say that probably nobody is right, because nobody knows how this is going to roll out, how the markets are going to balance themselves, how valuations are going to balance. And to me, again, it's exciting, it's scary, and it's very risky, especially on the investment standpoint. And so, I would encourage, individuals thinking about investing to really be careful what they invest their hard-earned money into. And I would, caution people trying to raise money to be very real about what their actual goals and projections are, because it's great to see companies, selling for billions, achieving multi-billion-dollar valuations. But is that, really grounded in reality? It's very hard to say. I think that at the end of the day, right now, in the U.S. market, the only people really making money are the regulators, which is the states taxing it and the federal government still taxing it. They're making, here in Washington, we tax pot 47% at the retail level. 280E takes on average about 25%. you're looking at upwards of a 70% tax levied on every dollar that passes through a retail store. And so, when we're talking about who's actually making the money, the industry is touching a lot of it. Not a lot of it's actually being retained. And I would be very nervous to be touching a lot of money, not keeping a lot of money, and then trying to maintain, say, a multi-billion-dollar valuation based on a stock market analysis. I don't know that that's going to hold. But this is the beauty of it, and it is still the Wild West. And I believe we've got at least a decade of experimentation and change and boom and bust. And if you can make it through that or find a way to carve out a niche, whether you're a company or a consumer, you're going to have a lot of fun and potentially make some money.
And with that, we're out of time. I want to thank my guests for coming on, Jerry with Cannex Capital Group and Forefront. Thank you. I want to thank Wes Abney of the Northwest Leaf and Leafchews. Justin, I appreciate you coming out. He's with Hypeherbally. Also, him and Wes joined up for the Higher Than a Space Shuttle. And Kacey with New Frontier Data, I appreciate you being on the line with us today.
Thanks so much.
All right, talk to you later. Bye. Bye, Kacey. So with that, we're going to roll this one up. I'm Josh Kincaid. This is a Talking Hedge. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or don't. And I'm out.